The ground shook again under Captain Hyun-woo's boots. He stopped walking and held up his hand. The rest of his team froze behind him on the narrow mountain path. "Third tremor in 10 minutes, said So-min, the team's xenobiologist. She checked, her scanner with a worried look. "The readings are getting stronger." Hyun-woo nodded. The mining colony on Valdris 7 had never experienced earthquakes before. Something was wrong deep beneath the planet's surface. That's why the Galactic Union had sent his research team to investigate. "Could be equipment failure," suggested Dong-hyun, their security chief. The tall man adjusted his energy rifle and looked around nervously. "Maybe one of the deep mining machines broke down?" "No," replied Yujin from behind them. The communications officer was studying her handheld device. "Colony base says all mining operations stopped yesterday. The tremors started after that." Hyun-woo looked ahead at the crystalline formations that jutted from the mountainside like frozen lightning. The miners had discovered these crystal caves 3 months ago, but hadn't explored them yet. The tremors seemed to be coming from somewhere inside. "We stick to the plan," Hyun-woo said. "We go in, take readings, and get out. Standard procedure." The team moved forward carefully. The crystal formations grew larger as they climbed higher. Soon they found themselves walking between towering pillars of blue and white crystal that caught the light from Valdris 7's twin suns. The air grew cooler. "Beautiful," whispered So-min. She was the only non-human on the team, with the pale blue skin and large eyes of her species. "I've never seen natural crystals this size." They reached the cave entrance after another 20 minutes of climbing. The opening was wide enough for their entire team to walk through side by side. Strange sounds echoed from deep inside. Not mechanical sounds like broken mining equipment. Something else. "What is that noise?" asked Yujin. Hyun-woo listened carefully. It sounded almost like breathing. Very slow, very deep breathing, but too big to be from any creature he knew about. "Probably just whine through the cave system," he said, though he wasn't sure he believed it. They entered the cave with their lights on. The crystal walls reflected their beams in every direction, creating a maze of dancing colors. The breathing, sound grew louder as they went deeper. The cave system was more complex than their scans had shown. Tunnels branched off in multiple directions. Some were small enough that they would have to crawl. Others were large enough to drive a transport vehicle through. "Which way?" asked Dong-hyun. Hyun-woo checked his scanner. "The strongest tremor readings are coming from that direction." He pointed toward the largest tunnel. They followed the tunnel, for what felt like hours but was probably only 30 minutes. The breathing sound grew louder and more distinct. It definitely wasn't wind. Something alive was down here. Something very big. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber. Their lights couldn't reach the ceiling or the far walls. But what they could see in the center of the chamber made them all stop walking. It was enormous, at least 10 meters long, maybe more. The creature lay on its side in the middle of the chamber floor. Its body was covered in thick, dark plates that looked like armor. Multiple arms or tentacles spread out from its torso. Some were as thick as tree trunks. "By the void," whispered Dong-hyun. His hand moved to his weapon, but Hyun-woo was looking more carefully. The creature wasn't moving much. Its breathing was labored and slow. Dark fluid pooled around its body. It was injured, badly injured. "It's hurt," he said quietly. Then So-min gasped and pointed. Near the creature's head, 3 much smaller forms huddled together. They were clearly babies of the same species. The large creature had one of its smaller appendages wrapped protectively around them. "It's a mother," So-min said. "She's protecting her young." That's when Yujin started backing away. "We need to leave, now." "What is it?" asked Hyun-woo. "I know what that is," Yujin said, her voice shaking. "It's a devourer." The name hit Hyun-woo like a cold wave. Everyone in the galaxy knew about devourers. They were monsters from the old stories, creatures that destroyed entire worlds. The Galactic Union had fought a war against them decades ago. "That's impossible," said So-min. "Devourers are extinct. They were wiped out years ago." "Apparently not all of them," replied Dong-hyun. He had his weapon raised now. Hyunwoo looked at the creature again. The stories painted devourers as mindless killing machines, but this one was clearly intelligent enough to protect its young. It hadn't attacked them, even though they had walked right into its lair. "Look at the wounds," Somin said. She had moved closer despite the others' protests. "These aren't natural injuries. Something cut her. Multiple times. Deliberately." She was right. The dark plates on the creature's side had been sliced open in several places. The cuts were too clean and precise to be accidents. Someone had tortured this creature. "We have to report this immediately," said Yujin. "The colony needs to know there's a devourer here." "She's dying," Somin said softly. "And her babies will die with her if we don't help." "Help a devourer?" Dong-hyun looked at her like she had lost her mind. "Do you know what they did to the Centauri colonies? What they did to New Terra?" "I know the stories," Somin replied. "But look at her. Really look. Does she seem like a mindless monster to you?" Hyunwoo found himself staring into the creature's eyes. They were complex organs, with multiple layers of faceted surfaces. But there was something in them he recognized. Intelligence. And something else. Sadness, maybe. Or pain that went beyond the physical wounds. The mother devourer turned her great head slightly and looked directly at him. For a moment, their eyes met. Hyunwoo felt a chill run down his spine, not from fear but from recognition. This was no mindless beast. This was a person, a mother trying to protect her children. "Captain," Yujin said urgently, "we have to go. If there's one devourer here, there might be others. The whole colony could be in danger." Hyunwoo tore his gaze away from the creature's eyes. His team was right to be cautious. The protocols were clear. Any contact with hostile alien life had to be reported immediately. But as they prepared to leave, he heard something that made him pause. A soft sound from the baby devourers. It sounded almost like crying. The team moved quickly through the crystal tunnels. No one spoke as they climbed back toward the cave entrance. The only sounds were their footsteps echoing off the walls and their heavy breathing. Hyunwoo kept thinking about the creature's eyes, about the way she had looked at him. There had been no anger in that gaze, no threat, just pain and exhaustion. "We need to seal this cave," Dong-hyun said when they reached the entrance. "Make sure nothing can get out." "She can barely move," Somin protested. "Did you see how badly injured she is?" "That's not our problem," replied Yujin. "Our job is to protect the colony." Hyunwoo said nothing. He was the team leader. The decision was his to make. But every instinct told him they were making a mistake. They reached their transport vehicle and began the journey back to the mining colony. The ride took 2 hours across the rocky terrain. Minho, their team medic, had been quiet since leaving the cave. Now he finally spoke up. "I've been thinking about those wounds," Minho said. He was a gentleman who hated violence of any kind. Somin was right. They weren't natural. "What do you mean?" asked Hyunwoo. Minho pulled out his medical scanner. "I took readings while we were down there. The cuts on that creature were made by energy weapons, high-powered ones, military grade, Harry. The transport fell silent except for the hum of the engine." "You're saying someone shot her?" asked Yoonji, their geology specialist. She had joined them at the last minute to study the crystal formations. "Multiple times," Minho confirmed. "And, recently. Those wounds are maybe a week old at most." Yujin shook her head. "That doesn't make sense. There's been no military activity in this sector for months." "Maybe pirates," suggested Dong-hyun. "Pirates don't hunt devourers," Somin said quietly. "They avoid them like everyone else." Hyunwoo felt a cold knot forming in his stomach. If someone had deliberately attacked the creature, it meant they had left her there to die slowly. Her and her babies. The mining colony came into view as they crested a hill. It was a small settlement with maybe 200 people. Most were miners or support staff. A few families lived there too, trying to make a new life on the frontier. They drove straight to the administration building. Administrator Jae-won was waiting for them in his office. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had run the colony for 5 years. "Well?" Jae-won asked as soon as they entered. "What did you find?" "A devourer," Yoo-jin said immediately. "An adult female with offspring. Badly injured but still alive." Jae-won's face went pale. He sat down heavily in his chair. "How many people know about this?" he asked. "Just our team," Hyun-woo replied. "Good. Keep it that way." Jae-won activated his secure communication system. "I need to make some calls." "Sir," So-min stepped forward. "The creature appears to be intelligent. She was protecting her young. She might not be hostile." Jae-won looked at her like she had said something incredibly stupid. "Dr. So-min, I don't think you understand what devourers are capable of. They destroyed 14 worlds before the Union stopped them. Billions of people died. But sir, she's injured. She needs help. She needs to be contained," Jae-won said firmly, "until a proper military unit can deal with the situation." "Deal with how?" Hyun-woo asked. Jae-won didn't answer directly. Instead, he turned to his computer and began typing. "I'm classifying this discovery. No one talks about what you saw today. That's an order." The team exchanged glances. Hyun-woo could see doubt in their faces. Even Dong-hyun looked uncomfortable. "What about the cave?" asked Yoonji. "Sealed. Permanently. I'll send a crew tomorrow with enough explosives to bring down the entrance. That will trap her inside," So-min said. "That's the point," Jae-won replied without looking up from his screen. They left the administrator's office in silence. Outside, the colony's twin suns were setting. The sky was painted in shades of orange and purple. It would have been beautiful if Hyun-woo hadn't felt so sick to his stomach. "I don't like this," Min-ho said quietly as they walked toward their quarters. "None of us do," replied Hyun-woo. "But orders are orders." "Are they?" So-min asked. "Since when do we abandon injured creatures to die alone?" "Since they're devourers," Yoo-jin said, but her voice lacked conviction. They reached the residential block where the team was staying. It was a simple building with small apartments for visiting researchers. Hyun-woo was about to say goodnight when So-min grabbed his arm. "Captain, I need to tell you something about devourers." He looked at her. "What?" "The official records about them. The war. The destruction they supposedly caused." She paused. "I've studied xenobiology for 15 years. I've never seen evidence that supports those claims." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying the behavioral patterns I observed today don't match a mindless killing machine. That creature showed complex emotional responses, protective instincts, problem-solving intelligence." Dong-hyun joined their conversation. "So-min, I've seen the battle footage from the Devourer Wars, the destroyed cities, the casualties." "Have you?" she asked. "Or have you seen what they wanted you to see?" Before anyone could respond, Yoonji came running up to them. "You need to see this," she said, holding out her geological scanner. "I was reviewing the cave data. Look at these mineral deposits." Hyun-woo looked at the screen. The readings showed high concentrations of rare elements throughout the cave system. "So?" he asked. "These elements are worth billions of credits," Yoonji explained. "The entire cave system is sitting on top of the richest mineral deposit I've ever seen." The team stood in the growing darkness, each of them beginning to understand what they had stumbled into. "We need to go back," So-min said finally. "The cave will be sealed tomorrow," Yoo-jin reminded her. "Then we go tonight," Hyun-woo said. They all looked at him in surprise. "Captain?" Dong-hyun asked. "Min-ho is right about those wounds. Someone tortured that creature and left her to die. If we don't help her, we're just as guilty." "The administrator gave us direct orders," Yoo-jin protested. "The administrator is more interested in covering this up than finding the truth," Hyun-woo replied. "We're researchers. Our job is to discover the truth, not hide it." He looked at each member of his team. "I'm going back to that cave tonight. Anyone who wants to come with me is welcome. Anyone who doesn't can stay here." Without waiting for an answer, he turned and walked toward the equipment storage building. Behind him, he heard footsteps following. All of them were following. The colony was quiet at midnight. Most people were asleep in their small apartments. Only the night security guards were awake, making their rounds between the buildings. Hyunwoo and his team moved carefully through the shadows. They had loaded a transport with medical supplies, water, and food concentrates. If they were caught, their careers would be over. Maybe worse. Transport 7 is missing from the motor pool, whispered Soo Young, the colony engineer who had volunteered to help them. She was young but skilled with machinery. Security will notice eventually. How long do we have? Asked Hyunwoo. Maybe 4 hours before the morning shift starts. 6 if we're lucky. They drove through the darkness with their lights off. The twin moons of Valdris 7 provided just enough light to navigate by. The crystal caves looked different at night. More mysterious. Almost magical. I still think this is crazy, Yoo-jin muttered as they climbed toward the cave entrance. Crazy would be letting innocent beings die when we can help them, So-min replied. They reached the cave entrance and found it unchanged. No one had sealed it yet. That would happen in the morning when the demolition crew arrived. Stay close, Hyunwoo said as they entered the tunnels. We don't know how the creature will react to seeing us again. The journey to the main chamber felt longer this time. Every sound echoed strangely in the darkness. Their footsteps. Their breathing. The distant sound of the creature's labored breathing from deep in the cave. When they reached the chamber, they found the mother devourer exactly where they had left her. But she was weaker now. Her breathing was more shallow. The dark fluid around her body had spread. The 3 baby devourers huddled closer to their mother. When the humans appeared with their lights, the babies made soft, chirping sounds. Not aggressive sounds. They sounded frightened and sad. She's dying faster now, Minho said quietly. He was already unpacking his medical equipment. The stress of being alone is making her condition worse. Hyunwoo approached slowly with his hands visible. The mother devourer turned her great head toward him. Those complex eyes focused on his face. It's okay, he said softly, knowing she probably couldn't understand his words but hoping his tone would convey his intentions. We came back to help. To his amazement, the creature made a low humming sound. It wasn't threatening. It sounded almost like relief. She recognizes us, So-min said with wonder. She knows we're trying to help. Minho began examining the creature's wounds while So-min set up a portable scanner. The babies watched everything with their own large eyes. They looked like smaller versions of their mother, but their armor plates were softer and lighter in color. These wounds are infected, Minho reported. Without treatment, she'll be dead by tomorrow night. Can you help her? Asked Hyunwoo. Maybe. If she lets me. Minho looked up at the massive creature. I need to clean the wounds and apply antibiotics. It's going to hurt. The mother devourer seemed to understand. She moved one of her smaller appendages and gently pushed her babies further away from her injured side. Then she looked at Minho and made the humming sound again. I think she's giving permission, So-min said. Minho began his work. The creature flinched when he cleaned the infected wounds, but she didn't pull away or try to stop him. She endured the pain silently while keeping one eye on her babies and the other on the humans. Look at this, So-min called from where she was studying her scanner readings. Her brain activity is incredibly complex. The neural patterns are more sophisticated than most species in the Galactic Union. More proof that the official stories are wrong, said Yoo-jin. She had been quiet since entering the cave, but now she seemed convinced. This is clearly an intelligent being. As Minho worked, Hyunwoo found himself sitting near the creature's head. Those multifaceted eyes studied him with obvious intelligence. He had the strange feeling that she was trying to communicate something important. The creature made a series of different sounds. Low hums mixed with higher-pitched tones. It sounded almost like music. She's trying to talk to us, So-min said, excitedly. This is a form of language. Complex tonal communication. Yoo-jin pulled out her linguistics equipment. Let me record this. Maybe I can find patterns. The mother devourer continued making sounds. Sometimes she would look at her babies, sometimes at the humans. The meaning was unclear, but the intention was obvious. She was trying to tell them something. "I wish we could understand her," Hyunwoo said. As if responding to his words, the creature moved one of her appendages toward him. Very slowly and carefully, she touched his hand with what looked like the tip of a finger. Her skin was warm and surprisingly soft despite the armor plating. "She's making contact," breathed So-min. "This is remarkable." The moment their skin touched, Hyunwoo felt something strange. Not words exactly, but emotions. Gratitude, hope, and underneath it all, desperate fear for her children. "I think she's trying to show me something," he said. The creature's touch conveyed images somehow, flashes of memory maybe. Hyunwoo saw other members of her species, a community living in harmony. Then violence, weapons firing, people running and screaming. "She's showing me what happened to her people," he said with growing horror. "They were attacked, hunted." The images continued. The mother devourer had been captured along with others. They were taken to some kind of facility where they were tortured and experimented on. Many died. She had escaped while pregnant, fleeing across space to find somewhere safe to give birth. The wounds weren't from a random attack, Hyunwoo realized. She was a prisoner. Someone was experimenting on her. Minho had finished treating the worst injuries. The creature's breathing was already stronger, but she was still very weak. "Need to get her out of here," So-min said. "When they seal this cave tomorrow, she'll be trapped." "Move her where?" asked Yoo-jin. "She's 10 meters long and probably weighs several tons." Soo-young had been examining the cave system. "There are other tunnels. Some connect to the old mining shafts. If we could get her to the transport depot." "That's kilometers of underground." "Passages," Yoo-jin protested. "She'll die if we leave her here," Hyunwoo said firmly. "We have to try." The mother devourer seemed to understand their discussion. She struggled to lift her head and made more musical sounds. This time the tone was urgent. "What is it?" Hyunwoo asked. The creature looked toward one of the tunnel entrances and made warning sounds. Her babies began chirping in distress. "Someone's coming," So-min realized. They heard voices echoing from the tunnels. Human voices. And they were getting closer. "We're out of time," Hyunwoo said. The voices in the tunnel were getting louder. Hyunwoo counted at least 3 different people. They were moving fast, and they knew exactly where they were going. "Hide the medical equipment," he whispered urgently to his team. But before they could move, bright lights filled the chamber entrance. 3 figures emerged from the tunnel. Hyunwoo recognized Administrator Jae-won immediately. The other 2 were colony security guards. "Step away from the creature," Jae-won ordered. His voice echoed off the crystal walls. "Sir, we can explain," Hyunwoo began. "No explanations needed, Captain. You directly violated my orders." Jae-won looked at the Devourer Mother with disgust. "I should have known humans would do something this stupid." The guards had their weapons drawn but not aimed. They looked nervous being so close to a devourer. "She's not dangerous," So-min said. "We've been treating her wounds. She's intelligent and peaceful." "Peaceful?" Jae-won laughed bitterly. "Tell that to the families who died on Kepler Station. Tell that to the survivors of the Titan Colony massacre." "What if those stories aren't true?" Hyunwoo asked. Jae-won's expression changed. The anger faded, replaced by something that looked almost like fear. "What did you say?" "The official records? About devourers, what if they're not accurate?" "You're talking about classified information, Captain. Information that could get you executed for treason." The chamber fell silent except for the sound of the creature's breathing. Even the baby. Devourers had stopped making noise. "I think it's time you knew the truth," said a new voice from the tunnel entrance. Everyone turned to see Taemin, the colony's historian, entering the chamber. Behind him was Hye-jin, who worked in maintenance but had always seemed too smart for her job. "Taemin?" Jae-won looked shocked. "What are you doing here?" "The same thing they are," Taemin replied, gesturing toward Hyunwoo's team, "trying to save an innocent life." Hye-jin moved past the security guards like they weren't even there. She walked right up to the Mother Devourer and placed her hand gently on the creature's head. "Hello again, Dara," she said softly. The creature made happy humming sounds when she heard Hyejin's voice. "You know her?" So Min asked in amazement. "I've been bringing her food and water for 3 months," Hyejin explained, "ever since she arrived here. She was dying when I found her, starving and terrified." 3 months? Hyunwoo looked between Hyejin and Jaewon. "You both knew she was here?" "I suspected," Jaewon said quietly. "But I hoped I was wrong." Taimin pulled out a data pad and activated it. "I've been researching Devourer history for years. The real history, not the propaganda version." "Taemin, don't," Jaewon warned. "They deserve to know," Taemin replied. He looked at Hyunwoo's team. Devourers weren't monsters, they were refugees. The historian began to explain what he had discovered. 50 years ago, the Devourers had been a peaceful species living on a planet rich in rare minerals. They were advanced but preferred to stay isolated from galactic politics. They refused to join the Galactic Union or allow mining on their world. So the Union fabricated evidence that they were dangerous, Taemin continued. Fake battle footage, false casualty reports. They made the entire galaxy afraid of Devourers. "That's impossible," one of the security guards said. "The Union doesn't lie about things like that." "The Union is made up of people," Hyejin said, "and some people will do terrible things for money." She explained that she had once worked for Union intelligence. Her job had been to help cover up what really happened to the Devourers. The truth was too horrible for most people to accept. "They were hunted like animals," she said. "Families torn apart, children killed in front of their parents. Also, a few corporations could strip mine their planet." The mother devourer, who they now knew was named Dara, made soft sounds as Hyejin spoke. It was as if she understood every word. "Most were killed," Hyejin continued, "but some escaped and scattered across the galaxy. They've been hiding ever since, terrified to trust anyone." "How did she end up here?" asked Minho. "She was captured again about a year ago," Hyejin explained. "Taken to a research facility where they experimented on her, trying to learn how devourer biology worked. She was pregnant at the time." The horror of what Dara had endured began to sink in. She had been tortured while carrying her children. Then she had somehow escaped and fled across space, looking for somewhere safe to give birth. "The facility tracked her here," Jaewon said. "That's why I wanted the cave sealed. If they find her, they'll take her back, and this time they'll make sure she doesn't escape." "Who are they?" Hyunwoo demanded. "Biotech Industries," Hyejin replied. "They have contracts with several Union member species. Officially, they develop medical technologies. Unofficially, they experiment on captured devourers." "That's barbaric," Somin said. "It's profitable," Jaewon corrected grimly. "Devourer biology is unique. Their healing abilities, their intelligence, their longevity. Biotech has made billions studying them." Dara made a series of urgent sounds. Her babies responded with their own chirps and calls. "What is she saying?" Hyunwoo asked. Yoo-jin, who had been recording Dara's vocalizations, looked up from her equipment. "I'm starting to understand some of the patterns," she said. "She's talking about others. Other devourers." "Here?" asked Taimin. "No. Far away. Hidden. She wants us to help her reach them." Hyejin nodded. "There's a group of survivors on a moon in the outer rim. Maybe 20 adults and a few children. They've been living in secret for decades. We have to get her there," Somin said. "It's not that simple," Jaewon warned. "Biotech has ships all over the sector. They're looking for her. If they find this colony harboring a devourer, they'll destroy everything." "So we just let them take her?" Hyunwoo asked angrily. "We protecting 200 innocent colonists," Jaewon replied. "Sometimes there are no good choices, Captain." Dara made more sounds. This time they were different. Sadder. It sounded almost like she was saying goodbye. "She understands," Yoo-jin said quietly. "She knows we can't save her without putting others at risk. She's accepting it." The mother devourer gently pushed her babies toward the humans with one of her appendages. The meaning was clear. She wanted them to take her children to safety even if she couldn't go herself. No, Hyun-woo said firmly. We're not leaving anyone behind. He looked around at his team, at Taemin and Hyejin, even at the nervous security guards. There has to be another way. That's when they heard the sound that made everyone freeze. The deep rumble of large ships landing outside the cave system. Biotech? Asked So-min. Jae-won nodded grimly. They found her. The sound of landing ships grew louder. Through the cave entrance, they could see bright lights moving across the mountainside. Biotech had arrived in force. How many ships? Hyun-woo asked. Hyejin checked her scanner. 3 large transports, maybe 50 soldiers total. Dara began making urgent sounds to her babies. The 3 young devourers huddled closer to their mother, chirping in fear. We need to get out of here, one of the security guards said. Now. And go where? Taemin asked. They'll search the entire cave system. Jae-won was already moving, toward the tunnel entrance. Everyone stays calm, we stick to the story. We came here to investigate the tremors and found nothing unusual. What about Dara? So-min demanded. What about her? We can't just abandon her to those monsters. Jae-won stopped walking and turned around. His face looked older than it had an hour ago. Dr. So-min, I've been running colonies for 20 years. I've made a lot of hard choices, but I've never lost a single civilian under my command. I'm not starting now. She's not just an animal, Hyun-woo said. She's a person, a mother trying to protect her children. And I'm an administrator trying to protect 200 families, Jae-won shot back. The argument was interrupted by Yoo-jin, who had been monitoring communication channels. They're jamming all signals, she reported. No way to call for help. Heavy. Footsteps echoed from the tunnel leading to the cave entrance. The biotech soldiers were already inside. This is Director Chen, a voice called from the tunnels. We know you're in there. Bring out the specimen and no one gets hurt. Dara made a low growling sound when she heard the voice. Her babies pressed, closer against her side. She recognizes him, Hyejin said grimly. That's the man who ran the facility where she was imprisoned. Specimen, So-min repeated angrily. They don't even consider her a living being. You have 30 seconds, Director Chen called. Then we come in shooting. The humans looked at each other. They were outnumbered and outgunned. The smart thing would be to surrender and hope biotech would let them go. But as Hyun-woo looked at Dara and her babies, he knew he couldn't do it. Anyone who wants to leave can go now, he said quietly to his team. This isn't your fight. Yes, it is, So-min replied immediately. We're with you, Captain, added Minho. One by one, the others nodded their agreement. Even the security guards chose to stay. You're all insane, Jae-won said. But he didn't leave either. Time's up, Director Chen announced. Armed soldiers poured into the chamber from 3 different tunnel entrances. They wore full combat armor and carried military-grade energy weapons. Their leader was a thin man with cold eyes and a cruel smile. Dr. Chen, Hyejin said with obvious hatred. Agent Hyejin, Chen replied. I should have known you'd be involved. You always were too soft for intelligence work. I was too human for torture work, she corrected. Chen ignored her and focused on Dara. The mother devourer was trying to stand, up despite her injuries. She positioned herself between the soldiers and her babies. Still playing the protective mother, Chen said mockingly. How touching. Bring the tranquilizer guns. 2 soldiers stepped forward with specialized weapons. Wait, Hyun-woo said. She's badly injured. Those drugs could kill her. Not my problem, Chen replied. I have orders to bring back a live specimen. It doesn't have to be healthy. She has a name, So-min said angrily. Her name is Dara. It has a designation number, Chen corrected. Subject 847. We've been tracking it for months. Dara made a series of complex musical sounds. Even in her weakened state, her voice was beautiful. What's it saying? Chen asked Yoo-jin. She's asking you to spare her children, Yoo-jin translated. She'll go with you willingly if you promise not to hurt them. Chen laughed. The young ones are worth more than the adult. Their biology is still developing, perfect for experimentation. The casual cruelty in his voice made Hyunwoo's blood boil. "You're talking about torturing babies," he said. "I'm talking about advancing science," Chen replied. "The medical breakthroughs we've made studying devourer biology have saved thousands of lives. By destroying others," Taemin said. "The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few," Chen said dismissively. "Basic utilitarian ethics." "Basic evil," Minho corrected. Chen gestured to his soldiers. "Tranquilize all 4 specimens. We'll sort out transport back at the ship." The soldiers raised their weapons. That's when Hyunwoo made his choice. "No," he said, stepping directly between the soldiers and Dara. "Move aside, Captain, or we'll move you." "I don't think so," Hyunwoo replied. One by one, his team joined him. So-min, Minho, Yujin, Taemin, Hyejin, even the security guards. They formed a human barrier protecting the Devourer family. "You're making a mistake," Chen warned. "Interfering with a biotech operation is a felony under Galactic Union law." "Then arrest us," So-min said. "But you're not taking them." Chen's expression hardened. "Kill the humans if they resist. The specimens are all that matter." The soldiers hesitated. Shooting civilians was crossing a line, even for mercenaries. "Sir," one of them said, "these are Union citizens. There will be investigations." "There will be accidents," Chen corrected. "Cave-ins happen all the time in unstable crystal formations." While Chen was threatening the humans, none of them noticed Won-sik, the colony's head of security, entering the chamber from another tunnel. He had brought Na-young, a communications technician, and 6 more security guards. "Dr. Chen," Won-sik said loudly, "you're trespassing on Union territory without proper authorization." Chen spun around to face the new arrivals. "This is a legal salvage operation. Show me the paperwork," Won-sik demanded. "I don't need paperwork to recover stolen property." "Dara isn't property," Na-young said. She had been recording everything on her equipment. "She's a sentient being with rights under Union law." "Devourers have no rights," Chen snarled. "Actually, they do," Taemin said, pulling out his datapad. "I've been researching Union legal codes. Any species that demonstrates intelligence, emotional complexity, and social structures is entitled to protection." Chen looked around the chamber. He was outnumbered now, but his soldiers still had superior weapons. "It doesn't matter," he said finally. "My company has contracts with 3 Union member governments. We have the backing of the Senate Commerce Committee." "Not anymore," Na-young said with a smile. She held up her communication device. "I've been broadcasting everything live to every major news network in the sector." Chen's face went pale. "That's impossible. We're jamming all signals." "You're jamming colony signals," she corrected, "but not the emergency broadcast network. Every Union citizen in 50 light years just watched you threaten to murder civilians to capture an injured mother and her children." The chamber filled with the sound of Dara making happy musical sounds. Somehow she seemed to understand that. Things had changed. Chen looked at his soldiers, then at the growing crowd of humans protecting the Devourers. "This isn't over," he said finally. "Yes, it is," Hyunwoo replied. "Now get off our planet." Chen and his soldiers didn't leave immediately. They retreated to the cave entrance but stayed close enough to watch. The director spent several minutes speaking urgently into his communication device. "He's calling for backup," Hyejin warned. "Biotech won't give up this easily." "How long before reinforcements arrive?" asked Won-sik. "Maybe 2 hours," she replied. "But they'll bring enough firepower to level this entire mountain." Hyunwoo knelt beside Dara and placed his hand gently on her armored head. The Mother Devourer made soft humming sounds. "We need to get you and your children out of here," he said. Dara responded with a series of complex musical tones. Yujin was getting better at understanding the language patterns. "She says thank you," Yujin translated. "But she also says something else. She's asking about her mate." "Her mate?" So-min looked confused. Dara made more sounds, sadder this time. "He was killed when they captured her," Eugen explained. She's been alone ever since. The three baby devourers chirped softly and pressed closer to their mother. They were beautiful creatures despite their alien appearance. Their young faces showed curiosity and intelligence. We still need to move them, Taemin said practically. Even if we stop Chen today, he'll be back with more soldiers. Where can we take them? Asked Minho. Biotech has ships all over this sector. I have an idea, said Il-sung, the colony's best pilot. He had arrived with 1-6 security team. But it's dangerous. More dangerous than staying here? Hyunwoo asked. Maybe. Il-sung looked around the chamber. There's an old mining transport in Storage Bay 7, big enough to carry our friends here, but it's not rated for interstellar flight. How far can it go? Asked Na-young. To the edge of the system, maybe a little beyond if we're lucky. Heejin nodded slowly. There's a resistance network, other people who've been helping Devourer survivors. If we can reach the Kepler Nebula, they'll meet us there. That's 3 days' travel in an interstellar ship, Wonsik pointed out. How long in an old mining transport? 2 weeks, Il-sung admitted, assuming nothing breaks down. 2 weeks in space with no guarantee of rescue, Jae-won said. You're all insane. But even as he spoke, the administrator was checking his own equipment. Despite his protests, he was already planning how to make the escape work. We'll need supplies, Minho said. Food, water, medical equipment. And weapons, added Wonsik. In case biotech catches up with us, Jung-ho, the mining foreman, stepped forward. I can help with that. I know every tunnel in this mountain. We can move the transport right to the cave entrance without being seen. What about the colony? Asked Eugen. When biotech realizes we're gone, they'll take their anger out on everyone else. No, they won't, Na-young said confidently. The whole galaxy is watching now. My broadcast went out to every major news network. Biotech can't hurt civilians without causing a massive scandal. As if to confirm her words, her communication device began receiving messages from across the sector. News reporters, government officials, and ordinary citizens were all demanding answers about what was happening on Valdris 7. Look at this, she said, showing them her screen. Protests on 12 different worlds. The Senate is calling for an investigation. Even some union officials are speaking out against biotech. Dara seemed to understand that something important was happening. She made encouraging sounds to her babies and tried to stand up. Minho helped steady her. Easy, he said. You're still recovering. The mother devourer looked at each of the humans in turn. Then she did something unexpected. She placed one of her smaller appendages on Hyunwoo's chest right over his heart. What is she doing? So-min asked. Eugen was recording the interaction. I think she's trying to say something important. Dara began making a new pattern of sounds. They were different from her earlier communications. More formal somehow. More ceremonial. She's giving him a name, Eugen said with wonder. In her language, she's naming him something that means friend who returns or one who comes back to help. Tears ran down Hyunwoo's face. To be given a name by someone he had helped save felt like the greatest honor of his life. One by one, Dara named each of the humans who had chosen to help her. So-min became healer of pain. Minho was gentle hands. Eugen was voice that translates. When she finished the naming ceremony, her 3 babies began making their own sounds, high, sweet tones that sounded almost like laughter. They're happy, So-min said. For the first time since we found them, they sound truly happy. We should go, Il-sung said. Every minute we wait makes escape harder. They began moving Dara and her children through the tunnel system toward Storage Bay 7. It was slow work. The mother devourer was still weak from her injuries, and the tunnels weren't designed for creatures her size. But the colony's residents had mobilized to help. Engineers widened narrow passages. Medics provided additional supplies. Even families with small children came to help carry equipment. Why are they all helping? Chen demanded when he saw the crowd of people working together. He had returned with more soldiers, but they looked uncertain facing so many determined civilians. Because it's the right thing to do, said 8-year-old Su Jin, the daughter of one of the mining supervisors. Children should be afraid of monsters. Chen replied. She's not a monster, Sujin said simply. She's a mommy taking care of her babies. From the mouths of children came the truth that adults often forgot. Dara wasn't a monster or a specimen or a thing to be studied. She was a person, a mother, someone deserving of compassion and help. The transport ship was ready when they reached Storage Bay 7. It was an old, battered vessel, but Jong-ho and his team had worked miracles getting it spaceworthy. Supplies for 3 weeks, Jong-ho reported. Enough food and water for everyone. Medical bay is fully stocked. Communication equipment, asked Yu-jin. Long-range transmitter and emergency beacon, Na-young confirmed. The resistance network will be listening for us. As they prepared for departure, more messages arrived from across the galaxy. The story of humans helping a devourer family had spread everywhere. Other colonies were reporting that they had secretly been helping devourer survivors for years. Look, at this, Taman said, showing them a message from the Union Senate. They're demanding that biotech explain their actions. Several member species are threatening to cancel their contracts. It's working, Hyejin said with amazement. The truth is finally coming out. But Chen wasn't finished. As the transport prepared to launch, his soldiers surrounded the storage bay. Last chance, he announced over loudspeakers. Surrender the specimens and you can all go home. Hyun-woo stepped out of the transport to face him. Her name is Dara, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Her children's names are Hope, Joy, and Future. Those are the names she chose for them. They're not specimens. They're people. They're property of biotech industries, Chen insisted. They're citizens of the galaxy, Hyun-woo replied, and we're taking them home. The transport engines began to warm up. Chen's soldiers raised their weapons. Stop the launch, Chen ordered. No, said Won-sik, stepping up beside Hyun-woo. No, agreed So-min. No, said Min-ho. One by one, every human in the storage bay stood with Hyun-woo. Even Administrator Jae-won stepped forward. You'll have to go through all of us, Jae-won said. Chen looked at his soldiers. They were outnumbered 3-1 by angry civilians. More importantly, they knew the whole galaxy was watching. Sir, one of his men said, maybe we should wait for legal authorization. I don't need authorization, Chen snarled. But before he could give the order to fire, alarms began sounding throughout the colony. Warning lights flashed red in the storage bay. What's happening? Someone shouted. Na-young checked her communication device. Union warships, she announced. 3 heavy cruisers just dropped out of hyperspace. Chen's face went pale. That's impossible. The Union doesn't have ships in this sector. They do now, Na-young said with a smile. Apparently the Senate decided to investigate in person. Through the storage bay's main window, they could see the massive Union warships descending toward the colony. Their hulls bore the blue and silver markings of the Galactic Justice Division. You called them? Chen demanded. I didn't have to, Na-young replied. Once my broadcast went live, half the galaxy started demanding action. The Union had no choice but to respond. The first Union shuttle landed just outside the storage bay. Armed peacekeepers in blue uniforms poured out and surrounded Chen's soldiers. Director Chen, said the lead peacekeeper, you're under arrest for crimes against sentient beings. This is outrageous, Chen protested as they put restraints on his wrists. I have legal authority here. Not anymore, the peacekeeper replied. The Union Senate has revoked Biotech's charter. Your operations are officially terminated. As Chen and his soldiers were led away, the humans cheered. Dara made happy musical sounds from inside the transport. Her babies chirped excitedly, seeming to understand that the danger had passed. Is it over? So-min asked. The immediate danger is, the peacekeeper confirmed. But we'll need your help to find all the other research facilities. This goes deeper than just one company. Over the following weeks, the investigation revealed the full scope of the conspiracy. Dozens of facilities across the galaxy had been experimenting on captured devourers. Hundreds of survivors were found and freed. The old mining transport never made its dangerous journey to the Kepler Nebula. Instead, a Union medical ship arrived to transport Dara and her children to safety. But before they left, There was one final moment that would be remembered across the galaxy. Dara approached Hyunwoo one last time. She placed her appendage over his heart and made the musical sounds that meant, "Friend who returns." Then she did something no human had ever seen a devourer do before. She smiled, not with her mouth, which was hidden behind armor plates, but with her eyes. Those complex, multifaceted organs conveyed warmth and gratitude that needed no translation. "Thank you," she said in carefully practiced human words. "Thank you for coming back." The story of the humans who returned to help spread throughout the galaxy. It became a symbol of hope for all oppressed peoples. When someone felt abandoned or afraid, they would remember the miners and researchers and security guards who chose compassion over orders. They would remember that sometimes, when everyone else walks away, someone will hesitate at the exit and turn around. Someone will come back to help. Because that's what humans do. They return for those who need them most.